Never like we never left. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with us. We got the super producer J.Holts in the building for this one. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. I just like doing that voice whenever you're in the building. I don't know why. What's going on with you, my boy?
Doing excellent, man. It's a new day, I think. Well, we'll see. Is it time for?
We'll see where life takes us.
We'll see. Yeah, what journey are we gonna go on this time?
No, appreciate you guys tuning in and rocking with us as always, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. We do this Chicago sports thing just about every day, man. It's not a day usually where we don't go without posting some content. Got to break down what we've seen from the Chicago Bears, and I'm hoping that they do indeed, and they are indeed live streaming the McCaskey's press conference. So hopefully YouTube doesn't shut us down because I'm piping this joint in. But no, hoping to get that, react to that pretty much live with you guys here. And then we'll talk about it. Listen, the Bears did fire Matt Nagy. They did fire Ryan Pace today. What's next? You know what I'm saying? That's the part that's scary. And here's George talking.
Parker Dickerson is about the same age as Matt Nagy's sons. An NFL head coach understands and accepts that he'll be subjected to a fair amount of criticism, and that unfortunately, some of it will be personal. Coaches' children do not strike the same bargain. What Matt's oldest son was made to endure at a high school playoff football game was shameful and inexcusable. All he wanted to do was play a game he loves with his friends. Coaches' kids should be off limits. Ryan's and Matt's kids probably aren't very happy with the Bears right now, but they were, are, and always will be part of the Bears family. I want to take a moment to thank the larger Bears family. This is a demanding business.
Kids should be off,
and it requires extraordinary sacrifices from players, coaches, football operations staff, and their families. We're grateful for those sacrifices and for the people who make them. Decisions we're making today are especially difficult because Ryan and Matt are outstanding men. They have high character and have always represented the Bears with dignity and class. They gave everything they had to the Bears, and we appreciate those efforts. In a discipline dominated by outsized personalities and egos, they are remarkably down to earth and free of ego, always putting team before themselves. 2018 was a great ride, 12 wins and a division title. Ryan was executive of the year and Matt was coach of the year.
Yeah.
We thought we were on our way. Unfortunately, it could not be sustained. Instead, we regressed.
Say what?
Our offense failed to show improvement. We continued to struggle at home.
It's preamble.
We did not close the gap within our division. In the end, we didn't win enough games. Our guys never quit, and that's a tribute to our players, the type of player Ryan looked for in the draft and free agency,
blah, blah,
the way Matt and his staff coached them. It's a little unfair to highlight individual players in a team sport, but I want to commend David Montgomery and Roquan Smith, who gave everything they had on every play.
You know why you should commend
them? That's
them?
why they're fan favorites.
4th and 1.
Right.
At the end of the 2020 season,
those are cornerstones.
We had a decision to make.
Agreed.
Matt's one-loss record was well above 500, and we have been to the playoffs 2 out of 3 seasons, but with 0 playoff wins.
Javier silly.
I felt that Ryan and Matt had earned the opportunity to improve upon the results of 2019 and 2020. That continuity was the best route to positive results. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Over 4 seasons, we beat the teams we were expected to beat. Too often, though, we didn't beat the better teams. And you have to do that to excel in this league.
Can't be a bum slayer.
Okay. Right.
Our search for a general manager and a head coach begins today. It will be thorough, diligent, and exhaustive. Will result in the best possible selections to lead the Bears to success.
Yeah, there's room for debate.
General manager will be responsible for the entire football operation.
I would hope so.
Okay.
For head coach,
So no president.
we will not be limited by philosophy, scheme, whether a candidate's background is on the offensive side of the ball, defensive, or special teams, whether a candidate has previous head coaching experience, whether a candidate's background is in the college game or the pro game, financial considerations.
Is that a little
The
hint
search
into
team will
Harbaugh?
consist of myself, Ted Phillips, Hall of Famer Bill Polian.
Oh, there we go.
Vice President of Player Engagement, Soup Campbell.
Thank you.
And our Senior Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Tanisha Wade. I expect that we will reach a consensus on both positions. Ultimately, though, the decision on the next general manager and head coach will be mine. Ted has done an outstanding job as president and CEO of the Bears and will continue in that role.
All right.
Our family has complete faith in him.
Yeah,
In what?
I bet you do.
Yes,
He made you money.
with the pending acquisition of the Arlington Park property and its evaluation as a possible future Bear stadium, occupying much of his time and attention.
Yeah.
The general manager should report to me. In this modified organizational structure,
Modified ain't changed.
continue to oversee the entire football operation, including the head coach. The GM will report to ownership. Bill Polian is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame because
That's all I care about.
As a pro football executive,
Now we're on our way.
his hiring of 2 head coaches,
You should have had him a long time ago.
Dungy, who are
It did.
themselves
Of course,
in the Hall of
it
Fame.
didn't work.
He is well regarded in league circles and has a lot of contacts.
Figure that one out.
To have Bill assisting us in our search. Soup Campbell is on board to offer his perspective on the candidates, including and especially how will our players respond to this candidate as our leader. Tanisha Wade was recently named to the newly created position of Senior Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Oh, Lord, I know that.
She is involved in all of our hiring. These are the most significant hires we make. Diversity is a critical part of the process. We are committed to providing a fair opportunity throughout the process to people of color. Frustrated Bears may be thinking, what makes him think he's going to get it right this time?
Yeah.
We're confident with the experience we've gained and with the makeup of our search team, we will find a general manager and a head coach
I don't get it.
who will lead our Bears to the success that all Bears fans deserve. Thank you, and I'll be happy to take your questions. Adam?
Okay, first question, Hub.
Well, George, first of all, I know this is a really difficult time for you and the family, that these are people you're fond of that you had to let go. And so I hope you and everybody is doing okay and getting ready to move on to the next challenge. Obviously you are, because you just answered my first 4 or 5 questions in your opening statement. So I'll move to the next one. There's been a lot of focus on the timing of everything and the opportunity to be out front in your search. Had you at any time notified Matt or Ryan as to what was going to happen? Have you already begun talking to any candidates? And if not, how critical is it to get the general manager hired first before you can get into the coaching search?
Matt and Ryan were informed of our decision this morning. We'll start contacting candidates today. Ideally, the general manager would be selected first. But if we see a head coach candidate that we think is the right one, we're going to do what it takes to get him in-house.
If I could just follow up real quickly, though, in terms of a general manager with unfettered control of the football operation, wouldn't that restrict you a little bit if you had already chosen a coach before he came on board?
Yep.
I think with Bill's guidance, we're going to be able to find
the great Bill
partnership of general manager and a head coach that will work. Like I said, we would prefer to hire the general manager first.
Go get Harbaugh.
Thank you, Hub.
Next question, Dan Weeder.
I'm okay.
You're okay with Harbaugh?
I'm curious what your resistance is to the attempt to try a new model where someone with a more sophisticated football background would oversee the general manager position.
Thank you, Dan, for that question. In our structure, it's the general manager who has ultimate football authority and oversight over the entire football operations.
your structure
Different
doesn't work, brother.
structures, different work for different
What?
teams, different sports.
I said, George, your
We
structure
think
doesn't
this
work,
is the
brother.
structure that
Right.
will be best for us.
Hardball.
When you evaluate
Bill,
the performance of a
you
general
got Bill
manager,
Pullen in the house. That's what I'm talking
relates
about.
to obviously
Should have did
evaluating
20 years
time,
ago.
obviously going into your search going forward for a new general manager. What for you are the specifics you look at, whether it's metrics, analytics, whatever it may be, to determine whether a general manager is successful in that role?
Well, this is a bottom line business. So one loss record is important. Number of difference makers you have on your team, the number of quality players you have on your team,
On Rick Smith too.
the core of the team,
Texans guy. That's who I want.
how the team is put together are all factors that are considered.
Next question, Pat Finley.
I'll be forgetting you're an old
Hi,
guy.
George. A year ago, you sat
Huh?
up here and said that you would
I'll be
look for
forgetting you're an
progress.
old guy.
How did you measure it? Did it go beyond wins and losses? And did you lean on a consultant or any
He
outside voice
drafted
over the last
Deshaun Watson.
month or 2 or 3 when evaluating whether you would make this
Layup.
decision?
No, but
We've
he
talked to a number of people
amongst others.
throughout the pro football world. We asked Bill to help us with evaluating our general manager and head coach and helping us make a decision on whether to retain and replace. And if we moved to a replacement situation, to help us in our search to find the replacements.
When did that process begin? And can you tell us about the other people you leaned on?
Yesterday.
It started at some point during the season. I can't recall exactly when.
What'd you
As
just say?
far as
Yesterday.
our
Yes.
conversations with other people in football, we consider those conversations to be private, and we will not be revealing the identities of those people or the substance of those conversations.
What are they in the witness protection?
Next question,
program?
Adam Hogue.
George, just to make sure, you did say that Ted will be helping in the search for GM and head coach, right?
That's correct.
So obviously, the GM going forward reporting to you is slightly different. With that change, why do you still have Ted involved in finding the GM?
Because I trust Ted implicitly, because I have great respect for his judgment, his analytical skills.
I agree with you, Raging Oracle.
When it comes to the people that we're interviewing,
That's what I wanted in the first
in the
place.
end,
was
he'll
not-
be
not
negotiating
Ernie,
a contract
of course.
with the general manager and the head coach.
Kevin Fishbane.
George, having gone through these interviews a few times now, what have you learned that's going to help guide your approach in the interviews that's going to be different? Are there different things you're looking for, different qualities you're looking for as you meet with these prospective GMs and head coaches that maybe you might not have looked for the other times you've done this?
We'll be looking for leaders, both in the general manager and the head coach.
What were you looking
Our
for
conversations
before?
with Bill Polian. In fact, he just wrote a book, Super Bowl Blueprints, where he talks about what it takes to get to and win the Super Bowl. And he said he was even struck by great teams have coaches that the players respect.
He's
don't have to like
contracted.
them,
Only
love
he's
them,
contracted,
but they
Yeah,
respect
that's the
them.
guy you want.
The primary quality we'll be looking for in both the general manager and the head coach
Just
is
hire 'em.
leadership.
You can't hire him. He's too old. He's not going to want to do that.
Brad
I
Diggs.
don't care. Hey, Bill, since you're here.
Hi, George.
A big Z.
Football operations has not been, good enough because that leads you down the road to get to today's actions. You have a new stadium initiative going. How do you handle two parallel projects that seem like both would be full-time initiatives?
They got money.
They
fine.
are both full-time initiatives, and we're adding staffing and hiring outside vendors to help us with our exploration of the Arlington Park property as a possible stadium site. That is a long-term proposition. In the meantime, we're focused on the here and now and the more important business of finding the next general manager and head coach of the Chicago Bears.
Jason Leisure.
Hey, George, do you believe that the Bears would be better? Do you believe the Bears would be better off if you had made these changes a year ago?
Well, like I said, at the time, we thought the continuity was the best route forward. And we felt that both Ryan and Matt deserved another opportunity, being to the playoffs 2 out of 3 seasons, above 500 record from a coaching standpoint. We felt that they deserved, based on the body of work of both of them, another opportunity.
So you only fired them when they got below 500 is what you're saying.
Colleen Kane.
George, based on the optimism you had at this time last year, what was the most frustrating part of this past season for you?
Well, Colleen, there were a lot of frustrating parts. Another lengthy losing streak. We had one in 2019, one in 2020, one in 2021. And usually those are season enders. I admired the way our guys stuck together, didn't point fingers.
Oh my God.
But at some point, general manager and the head coach have to come up with a way to snap us out of a losing streak before the season is ruined.
Or
Mark
to
Potash.
not have losing streaks.
Hey,
Just
George,
snap you out of it.
you mentioned that you think this model with you at the top works. I'm curious why you think this model works. I mean, with 2 winning seasons and no playoff wins in your 11 seasons, isn't there merit to the argument that somebody else should be heading this search and that the GM should be reporting to a Bill Polian type only? I mean, do you get it that a lot of Bears are unhappy with your record as well?
Shout out to you.
Yeah, we get that a lot of Bears fans are unhappy, and we're unhappy too, and we're frustrated. And we understand that there's not really a whole lot that can be said today that is going to make people feel better about the situation. And it may even be that once the candidates are introduced, there will be people who say, oh, you picked the wrong guy, or you didn't get it right, or whatever. The only opportunity to produce results is on the field, and that won't be for some time to come. But we think in time, it'll be shown that we've chosen the right people to lead the Bears.
So George, I'm referring to your record as the chairman. How are you accountable for the record that you have? Like you said, it's a bottom line business, wins and losses.
I want a boss.
No playoff wins, 2 winning seasons. That's not a great record. So how are you accountable for it? And like I said, does that lend merit to the idea that somebody else should be, like a Bill Polian type should be at the top?
Yeah, my performance is reviewed by ownership and the board of directors, and ownership has informed me that it wishes me to continue in this role.
No, that's not the answer I was looking for. I wanted him to be like, because I own the team. With your bum.
George, is it your preference that the next general manager comes in with the plan of kind of reloading some of the assets that you already have, or do you prefer them to view this as a complete rebuild where guys like perhaps a Khalil Mack could be leveraged for future assets? Do you have a preference whether they view this as a rebuild or a reload completely?
Thanks, Herb. We're looking forward to hearing what the candidates' plans are for getting the Bears back to the top. We'll leave that to them to present the details to us. We don't have a particular approach in mind.
Chris Emma?
George, given the way that the losses piled up this season and the fact that you have a rookie quarterback and young players, what kept you from dismissing Matt Nagy sooner?
We were evaluating throughout the season. We didn't have any preconceived notions about a particular timeline or a particular timetable.
You should have.
Our evaluation was concluded last night and resulted in the decisions that we announced this morning.
So what if
Sean
Nagy
Hammond
won yesterday in dominating fashion?
Hi, George. We haven't gotten to speak with you since the Arlington Heights news broke. I'm just curious, who's in charge of that project for you guys? And I guess what exactly what has to happen next, and what does that timeline look like?
Ted Phillips is in charge of that project, and
I can't stand R1 Herrera.
Anybody who's bought a house or a lot to build a house, there's a time between when the property is under contract
on the booze cruise
and closing. And during that time, there are a number of things that need to be done in terms of due diligence, making sure that there's clear title to the house or lot. If it's a lot, determining whether it's a buildable lot and so forth. A lot of regulations that need to be checked out. Well, on a property of this size, that closing, the time between under contract and closing is vastly expanded. So there's a lot of due diligence that needs to be performed before we can close.
Don't get him the mic no more, bro.
Mark Grody.
Hello, George. Was it your decision, or at least urging, to have Justin Fields take over as the starting quarterback with the Bears when he did this year?
No.
What did you think of the plan this year that Matt Nagy had? Were you all for the idea, the blueprint of Andy Dalton potentially being the quarterback the whole year?
I went out of my way to emphasize to Matt that ownership has no interest whatsoever in determining which players play, especially at the quarterback position, and that it's entirely a coaching decision.
Matt Zahn?
Play that boy.
George, sort of going back to Mark Podish's question a little bit, I assume a lot of Bears fans out there are not going to be all that pleased that Ted Phillips is still involved in this process, considering the lack of success you guys have had with this structure over the years. Why did you feel the need to not consider maybe changing this structure going forward?
We did talk about what was the best path forward. I don't think there's anything magical about a so-called football czar. At some point, the football person, whether it's the general manager or an executive vice president or a president of football operations, at some point, that person has to report to ownership. And we think with the modification that we've made, we've got the right structure for the Bears going forward.
John Greenberg.
George, I know you made it clear that you're making the final decision. This is your decision. I think we all understand that. Sounds like Bill Polian has a lot of power in this decision. He's been out of the league. He got fired from the Colts 10 years ago. And I know he's still been involved in TV and other things, consulting stuff. Why aren't you just making the decision? Why do you need someone like Bill Polian to kind of guide you here? Because you've been doing this for a while.
Idea what's going on?
Well, I think it would be a fair criticism if somebody said, I'm going to make this decision all by myself and I'm not going to get any input from anybody else. People would be wondering where this guy is coming from. We have a great resource available to us, and we're going to take full advantage of that resource. I expect that there will be vigorous discussion and debate after we interview each candidate. I was struck in our earliest conversations with Bill how very much on top of the game he is, and even on our situation. When we called him out of the blue and he was asking us detailed questions about our roster, our injury situation with particular players, he was very much up on the game in general and the Bears situation in particular. So I think we'll be in good hands, leaning on Bill to help us make this decision.
Adam Johns.
Hey, George, how would you articulate your current belief in Justin Fields? And then the next part of that, would you like to see him get involved when this reaches maybe the coaching search process? Would you like him to get to know some of these guys before you make that final decision?
Well, I'm just a fan. I'm not a football evaluator. And as a fan, what I see is a dynamic player with a lot of potential, a lot of ability, a lot of heart, and a strong work ethic. So we're looking for a general manager and a head coach who will develop not just the quarterback position, but the talent around him, and establishing a strong defense to help the quarterback to bring the Bears to success. Justin will not be an active part of the search process, but we'll be very interested to hear from both general manager and head coach candidates what their plan is to get the most out of the quarterback position for us.
Cam Ellis.
George, you guys announced this decision almost simultaneously as players were talking to the media. Was it always the plan to have the players talk before the decision makers about this? And do you think that was the appropriate way to handle it?
I'm sorry, Cam, I don't understand your question about the timing and the players.
Right, like the players were telling us that they had heard about this news, on Twitter. And, do you think that it was appropriate that they speak on the firings before you two did?
Oh, well, in this day and age, you can't stop things from getting out on social media. We knew that after we informed Matt and Ryan of our decisions, that the likelihood is that it would get out on social media before we put out a statement. But these days, there's not a lot you can do about that.
Andy Seligman.
Yeah, hey, George. Going forward, when it comes to the decision whether to retain the GM or the coach, will Ted have any involvement in that?
I expect that Ted's advice and counsel will be drawn on, just as it has for many years. But
why?
Ultimately, the general manager will report to the chairman, and the decision on the hiring ultimately is mine.
I don't trust you.
Joe Lewis.
Yeah, hi, George. You mentioned Bill Polian and the years that he's had. You mentioned yourself. Was there ever, or is there ever a concern or a thought given to possibly having a younger group of, I guess, his consorts looking into a GM and head coach? Because it's not, of course, to shade your age, but the game has changed since the last time Bill Polian was really active in the league 10 years ago. So was there ever a consideration to perhaps a younger group of people who have been in the league as it's modernized more recently?
Well, I appreciate the spirit of the question, Joseph. Yes, we're not exactly spring chickens, but Bill's been around the game for a long time. He knows the game very well. And I recall George Halas was in his 80s when he made a then very controversial but ultimately successful selection for a head coach. And Bill's much younger than that.
I like that he calls him George Halas.
Steve Leventhal?
Not grandpa.
Yeah, hi, George. This is for you and Ted if he wants to chime in. One of my esteemed colleagues who's on this call wrote an extensive piece analyzing the team over the last couple of years. And one of the core tenets was the dismay that a lot of former players who all have extensive contacts really weren't involved or have been consulted. And how come, since you mentioned who your committee is, how come you don't have any former players on that committee?
All right, I like that. Former players. Why don't you have no former
Well, I would welcome Ted's comments. I'll just say that we love it that our former players feel so strongly about wanting the Bears to be successful. A lot of them are season ticket holders. We welcome their input. I would say as a general proposition, I'm probably more reluctant to seek the feedback of players who or former players who are on media outlets. I don't want to have to put them in the position of deciding what is a confidential conversation and what is okay to share with on the air. We reach out to our former players on a regular basis and look forward to continuing to do that.
Next question, Dan Weeder.
Who's this dude?
George, how and when did the union with Bill Polian come together for you?
Like I said, I don't recall the exact timing. It was at some point during this past season.
And then moments ago, you made the admission. You said, I'm a fan. I'm not a football evaluator. With that admission made, how can you perform a comprehensive evaluation of your general manager through those sets of lenses?
Have y'all noticed how far I've sunk into this chair at this
Well, again,
point?
this is a results-oriented business, so it'll be largely wins and losses, making the playoffs, success in the playoffs, advancing in the playoffs, and winning the Super Bowl. That's how success is measured in this business.
Pat Finley.
Oh my God.
Yes, we do.
George, have the Bears pulled out?
Yes, we do.
Down, at a new stadium.
And Bill, we trust.
Hey, you trust them.
At our exploration of the Arlington Heights project was determined in large part by the seller. This was just a piece of property that was put out for sale.
Nobody in here cares
we were
about the stadium
contacted
right
by
now.
them or an agent for them. And we saw this as an outstanding long-term proposition with high potential for the Bears. Meantime, we're happy to engage with the city of Chicago and the Park District about present operations at Soldier Field.
They
When was
got
the
it.
last time that happened, that engagement?
Who cares?
I don't remember. I think it was a few weeks ago.
Give me a football team. Who cares?
They want him to have like time
David
stamps
Holtz?
on every conversation he got.
Right.
This
You're
man
muted,
is
David.
70.
P.kidd.
David,
We
you're
like Bill. Yes, we like Bill.
Sorry about that.
You
Hello,
like
George.
Bill.
Okay, I like Bill.
Best questions you've ever asked.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to get an
Dang.
answer just as good.
He just
When you are in the
roasted
room with
mess
these
out this
candidates,
man.
who is with you, and how do you envision asking these questions of guys who have experience, who maybe have won championships, and that whole process? How would you describe the way it will go?
The people in the room are myself, Ted, Bill, Soup, and Tanisha. We
Shout out to
expect
Tanner for the super
a
chat.
candid and free-flowing conversation. Bill said that when he interviewed Tony Dungy, he knew in the first 12 minutes that Tony was his guy, and they proceeded to talk football for another 8 hours. So we're looking forward to in-depth conversations like that.
Quick follow-up. Did you talk to Tony Dungy and seek his counsel when you moved in this direction?
Anybody else that we may have conferred with in the football world, we're keeping those conversations confidential.
Bro, ain't nobody. What you think we gonna kill him after you say that
Kevin
to
Fishbane?
get candidates out of here? Like, what's your plan?
Question for Ted. Obviously, Ted, you understand your reputation over the past few seasons in town, and you know, whether it's on here or talk shows, what have you. I'm curious, did you consider bowing out of the coach and GM search? Obviously, I know that there's a change, but did you consider not taking part in it and letting George and Bill and Soup and Tanisha take it from there?
Hi, Kevin. I would say to you that I think the group that we have has different viewpoints, different ways of looking at leadership, different ways of looking at the skill sets of the different candidates. So I think I'm looking forward to it. And my 38 years at the Bears and being involved in a number of these searches, I think I've learned a lot. And
You ain't learned nothing.
I think I have a lot to add going forward.
Oh my!
Well,
No one wants to hear
quick
from
follow-up
you.
then, because this question I asked George earlier. How are you individually going to treat this differently in interviews than you have in the past? Because again, you look at the results of the past hires have not gone the way you guys were hoping. So what's going to be different for you in your perspective when you're talking to these prospective GMs and head coaches?
Well, I would say this, that the hiring of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, I don't regret that. They both brought a lot to the Bears. Ultimately on the field, the results weren't where we wanted it to, but I think they've checked a lot of the boxes.
Hey, they
You
checked all
can't
the
ask for
boxes
better
except winning.
leaders. You can't ask for better forward thinkers. You can't ask for people that gave their all, had great work ethic, were humble. And we're going to look for a lot of those same qualities. And hopefully with Bill's vast expertise in the technicalities of coaching strategy and valuation process.
Please stop talking.
To add a nice added benefit.
Why do we have to hear from him? He trolls. He's the biggest troll. Everybody knows we don't like him.
Adam Hogue?
They asked him a question.
Why?
I don't
George,
know.
I guess coming off of actually what Ted just said, I mean, all due respect, at this point, I think the fans just care about winning football games. What you're describing in this process, I have to be honest, sounds a lot like 2015, where it was you and Ted. You guys hired Ernie Accorsi to come in to help you guys.
That's all this is.
And here we are 7 years later. So
thank God we got Bill Polian.
Why should Bears fans trust that this time, regardless of the people you guys hire and their individual qualities, that it's going to result in wins on the field?
I wanted Bill Polian the
Yeah,
first.
Adam, that's the important thing. And I don't think we're going to convince him today, or like I said, perhaps even the day that our next general manager and head coach are introduced. We've got to have results on the field. That's the only thing that matters. And that's when we'll win Bears fans over. Bill Polian talks in his books about decisions he made as a general manager that were considered wildly unpopular.
George, shut up.
But eventually,
How much
they bore
you gotta
fruit.
put in to get the book
And
plug?
you have to be ready
Reading his book, like, come on, man.
to make
Why don't you ask Grandpa?
it will be
Ask the
an
family.
unpopular decision.
No, not Grandpa.
If you're
George
convinced it's best for the Bears.
Brad Biggs?
George, as a member of the NFL's diversity committee, is it important for you to make minority hires or a hire for these two openings that you have in the organization?
I want the best person, man.
Brad, I don't think it's a particular obligation just because somebody's on a committee. I think it's a league-wide commitment, and it's a commitment to fairness in
We
the
know why she there.
process.
You can't get nobody.
What
that
I
don't
keep
agree.
hearing as a member of the diversity committee is that people just want a fair process. It's not a particular result, but as long as people get a fair shake, the same quality interview that another candidate may have gotten, the same opportunity to be heard that every other candidate gets. That's the important part, is the process. We don't know what the result is going to be.
The results are you want to put a winner on the field.
Hey, George, when Trestman and Emery were fired, you said that Virginia was pissed off. I was curious, in this latest firing or change, whatever, what impact did Virginia have on this decision? And just, how much did that affect you, her feelings with regard to where the Bears are headed?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. She was consulted, she was conferred with, as was every other member of the Bears board. Everybody wants to win one for her, and we're doing everything we can to make that happen. At one point in our conversations, I asked her for her assessment of our season, and she said, as only a mother can, I'm very, very disappointed.
Oh, okay.
Jason Leisure?
George, is it your full intention to build a stadium in Arlington Heights if everything goes well with the property? And if so, when do you hope that happens? And same question to Ted as well.
Right now, Jason, all we're doing is exploring the property's potential. We don't even own the property yet. And any questions beyond that would be premature at this point.
But I doubt you're exploring it to build an outlet mall or something. I mean, do you intend to build a football stadium there?
We're exploring the viability of building a football stadium on that property.
And when would you ideally like to see that happen if it does happen? How soon?
We don't have a timetable yet because, as I said, we don't even own the property yet. So it would be sometime after closing before we could make that determination.
Yeah, I can add a little color to that if you want.
That's where you talk, Ted. Good job.
Actually, thank you. I was going to say that.
That's where you talk, Ted.
You talk about non-football stuff. You talk about
the rest of this year, maybe into the first quarter of 2023. And at that point in time, we'll decide whether it's financially feasible to try to develop it further. And I think what's important now is that our focus for long-term development is exclusively on that property in Arlington Park.
Good job, Ted.
That's
job.
what you need to see.
Hi, George. You said that evaluating Matt and Brian was an ongoing process throughout the season, even up to today. I'm wondering, was there any one moment or any one action that really made you say, this is the direction we need to go in?
I don't think so, Alex. Like I said, it's an evaluation of the person's entire body of work. If I could point to particular moments, and this wasn't so much the evaluations
Your quarterback got sacked
of
9
Ryan and
times in a
Matt
game.
themselves, but just where we were and are on the offensive side. I would say in the same calendar year, we twice scored the only touchdown of the game on literally the last play of the game. On the defensive side of the ball,
a good one.
I would point to this season, game 1, one of our defenders fails to touch down a receiver who's on the ground.
Okay.
And in game 17, one of our defenders fails to touch down a receiver who's on the ground.
Thank you.
Dan Wiederer.
George, could you offer some insight on, and Ted as well, on this question on how Tanisha and Soup will be valuable resources to the search processes here in the coming weeks?
I think they're going to be great. They're both very excited about the opportunity. Like I said, the primary responsibility for Soup will be, can this person, both the general manager and the head coach, lead these players? And for Tanisha, she's just getting her feet under her in her new role as Senior Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. This will be a great learning experience for her. But these hires are so important that I felt it was important to involve her in the process.
Ted, same
I
question.
would just add to that.
No, you can't add to that
I think
part.
you guys know Sue Campbell, and he, on a daily basis, is in the locker room talking to the players. What's important? What's on their mind? What's bothering them? What are they happy about? From a whole host of different topics. So I think he will add great insight into how the locker room might react to different styles of coaching, different styles of leadership. So we're looking forward to that. And again, with Tanisha, she's very bright, and she will help us consider diversity of thought and kind of the implicit bias that a lot of people have when they go through trying to hire leadership in any, whether it's a coach or general manager.
Thanks for that. And then for either one of you, with the investment that the organization made last spring in drafting Justin, how do you go about assuring through these simultaneous searches that you wind up with a head coach and general manager combination that allow Justin to reach his full potential?
That'll be part of the challenge. With any general manager or head coaching candidate, we want to know what their plan is for the most important position on the field. How they would utilize Justin, who they would have coaching him.
See, that's the problem right there.
What players would they surround him with? How are they going to maximize his
I'm so
potential?
glad they drafted Justin Fields, because this put a microscope on how embarrassing this organization is.
Jesse
I'm glad
Rogers.
they got him.
George, back to when Justin was named the starter, you mentioned that earlier. Just a couple of days after Matt said Andy would be the starter if he's healthy, were you involved at least in the conversations with that? What went on during that time? And was there an organizational feeling that there'd be some growing pains if Justin was named the starter? The win-loss record may not look so good.
Matt and I talked about it. At one point, he asked me what I thought. And I said, I'm uncomfortable that you're even asking me the question.
Thank you.
That's a coaching decision. And that's how we left it.
Hey, Matt, you shouldn't be asking me this,
Matt
dog.
Pearson?
Hey, you just threw Matt under the bus so hard.
Hey, George, when you guys are in the room evaluating candidates, whether it be head coach or general manager, for you, does it make a candidate more intriguing if he's had a previous connection to the franchise? I know it won't be the biggest difference maker or anything like that, but would it make him a little more intriguing?
I tried to say in my opening remarks as exhaustively as I could that we weren't going to limit the search. And whether a person has a Bears background or not would not disqualify a candidate.
Pat Finley?
George, last time you and Ted conducted interviews without a football guy with you, correct me if I'm wrong, but you talked to a couple of coaches right before you hired Ryan, correct, to take advantage of that 1 week period.
No, he
What
didn't.
did you learn from that experience, and what can you tell Bears fans that would lead them to believe that the results will be better than they were the last time?
Dumb question.
Well, like I said, Pat, I don't think we're going to convince him in the short term. It's only time that will bear out the results. And the charge to us will be finding the best general manager and head coach to bring about those results.
You got with Ernie Accorsi. Like, what are you talking about?
Mariano?
You're not the conduit to my
How
fan.
many roles will be created in the front office? Is there any interest in creating a research and strategy department?
Thank you, Nick. That'll be something that we'll have to discuss with the general manager and the head coaching candidates. And once they're hired, see what of those plans they want to implement.
Dan Pompey?
Hey, George, do you have an identity for the Chicago Bears in mind that you would like to promote with your hires?
No, he just said anything is open.
Gritty, smart,
This man want Mike Dicker.
opportunistic, winning football.
Yeah, he didn't say that they want.
He definitely just described Mike Dicker.
Hi, this question is for Ted regarding Arlington. Understanding there's still a long way to go in the process. What is the vision for the project, and what makes it an attractive possibility for you guys?
Up, so we might as well ask you about
Hi,
the
Colin.
stadium.
It's as George pointed out, we didn't go to try to pursue this property that became available, but it is 326 acres. It's a extremely unique property. There's nothing else like it in Chicagoland.
Dan, you're silly.
The opportunities, we haven't even begun to envision what it could be. But we're hopeful that if we close, that will be, moving forward with
He's not wrong.
turning it.
No, he's not.
Again, timing of it, we don't know because we haven't even closed on the land. And if we don't close on the land, all that vision won't come to fruition. But we're excited. It can be an entertainment destination with multiple facets to it that I think could really help put Arlington Heights on the map as a destination spot.
Ted is your business guy. Stay in the business. Get out of football.
George, if Ted is involved in the search and in the decision to, going forward in terms of whether to retain the GM or not, or the coach or not, then how much is really changing here in terms of the operational structure?
Hey, why they smacking Ted in the face?
Well, the change in the interview room.
Like I'm right here.
In the room. So we've got the benefit of their perspective.
Still sucks.
Organizationally,
why we still dealing with him?
It remains to be seen how much is going to change.
We don't want to.
I haven't had a general manager report to me, so I've got a lot to learn in that regard. And
you're too old to be learning.
On new general manager,
family freaking
help me
team
along in that process.
Bro, this is
no excuse.
Adam Johns?
Bro, this is funny, dog.
Hey, George, to go back to Justin Fields a little bit, given the investment in him, giving up the first round pick this year and whatnot, if a candidate says, that he doesn't like him, doesn't want to keep him, wants to move on, would that automatically discount them or disqualify them from the position of GM or coach?
Well, I think I've said before, I don't entertain hypotheticals. We're interested in hearing what the candidates have to say about the development of the entire football organization, and especially the quarterback position.
That's a good
We wanna
answer,
know,
George.
what their plan is to develop that position for us.
David Hall?
Now I
But
see
just to
why-
follow up on that, because I think that's a critical question. I think what we're asking is, it's not a hypothetical. If the candidate, you're a fan and you say that you like what you see in Justin Fields, but if somebody who is a football person that you're interviewing, a head coach candidate or a GM, has reservations about his potential, does that potentially disqualify that person from getting a job with you?
Well, I don't want to get into a semantics debate with you, but the first word of your question was if. That to me presents a hypothetical, and we don't know what the candidates have had to say because we haven't interviewed any of them yet. We want to know what their plan is for that position for the Bears.
Is thinking Justin Fields can be a franchise quarterback a prerequisite for either the general manager or the head coach of the Bears?
We want to know what their plan is for the quarterback position for the Bears.
Pat Finley?
David Hall picking the weirdest points.
Hi, this question's for Ted. Ted, last year at this, you said, have we won enough games? No. Or have we gotten the quarterback situation completely right? No. Have we won enough games? No. But everything else is there. Do you still believe that?
Well, clearly we weren't happy with the results. So we need to get better.
Over 100 in the chat.
And I think as George pointed out, besides the fact that the general manager is going to report to him, which is a big change, we're going to look to the general manager to structure his personnel
asking Ted
in a way that he feels he has
This man don't do nothing but
enough
sign
support
bad checks.
and enough expertise so that he can not only oversee the
I
coaching,
hope Mike Glennon framed that check.
the head coach, but also his personnel
18
department,
million,
and to
Ted
be able
Phillips.
to ultimately set, along with the head coach, plans for each player and to hold the coach accountable for the schemes that he develops. So that's what I think we need to do going forward.
Oh, good job there, Ted. Appreciate that,
Brad
brother.
Diggs?
George, from your position, what happened during Thanksgiving week? You guys were in a real tough patch. That firestorm sort of erupted. In retrospect, could the club have handled that differently, or should it have been handled differently?
Yeah, thank you, Brad. The way I viewed that situation, a reporter who doesn't normally cover the Bears put out an erroneous report, attributing it to one unnamed source, and called us to ask for comment only after the story had been posted. It was on a website that before that day I had never heard of. We discussed it internally and decided that as long as we addressed it internally, I didn't feel any particular obligation
I absolutely
to address
think
an
they was gonna fire him
erroneous
all until that
report
story came out.
publicly. My concern was that it just seemed to be thrown out there to see what our reaction was. And that if you deny that report or refute that report, and you don't deny or refute the next erroneous report, that people attach some significance to that. Ted and I talked to Ryan and Matt about it that day. I spoke to the team about it the next day. If I had to do it all over again, I would have spoken to Ryan and Matt about it even sooner and spoken to the team even sooner. But as long as we addressed it internally,
I swear he just
I
had a
didn't
mini
feel
stroke.
any need to address it publicly.
Adam Hogue.
Bro, this is wild.
George, Olin Kreutz told
what?
a story the other day about how the Bears offered him essentially somewhat of a consulting role with the offensive line for $15 an hour. Were you aware of that offer when it happened? And what was your reaction whenever you were aware of it?
That's crazy. That's so disrespectful.
I've learned over the years to take just about anything that Olin says with a grain of salt.
Oh,
And
wow.
I look forward to hearing that story again and hope he includes it in his Hall of Fame induction speech.
So you're saying that it's not true?
That's the way it is sometimes.
He
with
just
Olin.
had a stroke, dog.
Don't get the whole story.
He didn't want to
And
call out.
Olin knows what the story is.
What?
Kevin Fishbane.
What?
George, you said earlier that
Uh-oh.
Matt went to you about talking to you about quarterback. You were uncomfortable talking football with him. Should you, at this point in your time as chairman, be comfortable talking about football? And do you see in the future getting to a juncture where, as the person ultimately in
I can't
charge
believe he did that.
of the team, to
Bro.
be able to be involved in those conversations?
He just started
Say that I was
Olin gonna go off.
comfortable talking football with Matt. I love talking football with Matt and with
You
Ryan,
don't know football.
with all of our football people. That's what makes this game great. I said that I was uncomfortable that Matt was even asking my opinion about who should be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears, because that is entirely a coaching decision.
Did he just call Olin
Dan?
Kreutz a liar?
No, I bet you know what it was. They don't
So
like Olin.
realistically, how
Olin
deep do you envision the list
tells them how
for
it
each
is.
of these jobs, general manager and head coach, of candidates to be?
Great question, Dan. I don't know. I expect lengthy lists for both positions, and we're going to work through them and get the best person at each position for the Bears.
At the outset, you said that there would be the potential of, if there was a can't miss head coaching candidate, that you would move to secure that person before hiring a general manager. What would the criteria be? What boxes that would be checked that would make you move in that fashion to secure a coach before you hired a general manager?
Whatever Bill says. That's a dumb question.
I would say that we'll know him when we see him.
Okay, we have time for a couple more. Pat Finley.
Your opponent has quit the game, bro. He had a stroke in the middle of that.
George, a version of this was asked earlier,
Red,
but I'm going to
bro,
try
but
again.
It's tough, dog.
A connection to the Bears, whether it's somebody who you know personally or who your family's had a relationship with, would that give you some sense of comfort in making a hire with somebody that you know versus somebody that you're just getting to know?
It would depend, Pat, on who that person was and what their vision was for the Bears.
And last question, Mark Potash.
Hey, George, after Ryan and Matt did not work out, does that alter the value you place on nice guys who get along and collaborate? You know, are you any more likely now to hire some no nonsense hard guy who might ruffle some feathers but gets results? In other words, is it time to think a little more outside the box and hire someone who might want to do some things that aren't exactly your style or this organization's style?
Ryan and Matt weren't hired because they're nice guys, and we're not looking for a particular personality type.
It's coming to an end now.
Who can best lead the Bears to success?
You want guys to go to church with y'all. Be quiet.
But the idea that they collaborated and you know that they got along and so like, why did that not work out? That was the value you put on it, which is what a big reason why they stayed last year. Why did that not work out?
They sucked.
Well, I think if you look around the league, you'll see various instances of dysfunction, and that relationship between the general manager and the head coach is absolutely critical. In our conversations with Bill Polian, he's told us it's that relationship between the general manager and the head coach, and the relationship between the head coach and the quarterback
just tweeted
will determine the success of your team. So we don't want somebody that's always agreeing with each other. We want vigorous debate, but at the end of the debate, we want people breaking on the plan and united behind the vision.
What do you say?
All right, George and Ted, thanks for your time. Appreciate everyone joining the call.
So Only Cruz did respond to what Ted said. He said, unreal, but I can't say I'm shocked is my response. Haven't talked to George since I left Hallis, but he knows me well. Crazy response by him. Wow. Lot to unpack there, y'all, and we want to hear from y'all as well. Hold on, let me get the phone lines up. You know what I'm saying? I'll let you guys know when it is up. But it's your boy Pat the Designer. If you guys are still here, man, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, joined by the pettiest man alive, Mr. P.kidd, as y'all see down low. And of course, the super producer J.Holts is in the building. Ready
That's what y'all get. You know what? You all asked for this. Live with it. I hate y'all. I hate that thing about this city. I hate that thing about this goddamn team. Guess what? First of all, I hate you and your Bears hat. I hate him and his Bears jacket. I hate this guy and his word salad that sounds no different than Matt Nagy. I mean, literally, what did I just listen to here?
You need to calm down, you transplant.
I'm a transplant now?
You live in Indiana now. You're not even, you can't even claim.
You ain't lived in Chicago since you was 2. What are you talking about?
I was 8 years old.
I thought that was going a whole different direction. But nah, man, hit that like button, subscribe to the page. I can't believe what we just listened to.
This is what I like.
Hey, listen, I got another call to hop on. I'll be right back.
Wow. This is what I like. All that matter, all that mumbo jumbo, all that other stuff doesn't matter. They got a real kingmaker football guy in there with Bill Polian. That's the guy I wanted in the first place.
I don't know, though.
Why do you not know?
Listen, Ernie Accorsi was successful.
Ernie Accorsi was okay.
Ernie Accorsi was successful. He built a Super Bowl team, didn't he?
Yes, and so did Bill Polian.
So did Bill Polian.
Huh?
So I said, so did Bill Polian.
But go ahead.
That don't matter.
It does matter.
Why do people think that, like, I get George is dumb. Clearly, he's dumb. He got to be. A little bit. Maybe not dumb. Dumb's probably a harsh word, but I'm upset. He's kind of dumb. Anyway, so if George is not comfortable answering football questions and things like that, which is fine, then why don't you lean on, instead of attacking, the people who have been in your organization that do understand football things? You know what I'm saying? Even his estimate, if Olin is telling the truth here, you know what I'm saying? He says he ain't been at Hallis since, or he ain't talked to George since he was at Hallis.
Right.
That's years. George just up there being a mouthpiece. He's just running his mouth. He don't know nothing. But Bill Polian ain't never been a part of this organization.
The point is that they're so inept that at least they would pick one of the greater minds. Yes, picking Ernie Accorsi to talk. It's sad because it's like, did you not grow up around with the Hunts and the Wellington Mara family and all these other folks has been doing this a long time? So it's a shame that you can't even go within your own ranks to find somebody.
Wears a wig. That's funny. He said Ernie wears a wig.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's pretty funny.
But my point is that you're at least picking the brain of someone who has had success. Yeah, Buffalo didn't win a Super Bowl, but that was a dominant team that got to 4 Super Bowls in a row. He picked Peyton Manning. They built the contender in Indianapolis. They had sustained success. My point is, it's not necessarily that it even has to be Bill Polian. The point is that he has won. So whether you get a Sean Payton, for example, when he got to New Orleans, they have been a staple of success for how many years? When you get anyone, can we get someone that's a staple of success? So I'm happy that Bill Polian, even though he's a little older, he's a consultant. So the point is that he was a successful GM. Let's find and get a good GM in here with a good coach, because these guys cannot sit here and pick anybody. Ted Phillips sat there and just said that I've had over 30 years,
38 years
to figure things out, and I think I've known stuff. No, this is a bad. You've been having nothing but a bad track record.
I don't take anything away from what Bill Polian did. I'm not saying Bill Polian is not a football mind. I'm not saying he doesn't understand what's happening in the game today. I don't care if he's old. Most of these dudes that are making these decisions are old. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like it's a bunch of young. George is old. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, cool.
Bill Parcells. Anybody, just someone help guide these idiots.
Yeah. So I don't care that he's old. Here's my problem. The Bears won't change their model, for one, right? How do you get one of these bright minds? Because right now, what you're going to get is you're not going to get a GM. You're going to get you're looking at assistant GMs. You're looking at scouts, head of scouting operations. You're looking at head coaches possibly or former head coaches that want to build teams. You're looking at former players that you want to put in place, possibly a Louis Riddick or something like that. That's what you're looking at, right there.
Sam Pram, my man, what's up? No.
The biggest thing is if you would move Ted to a different position, guess what you could go get? How did we get AK in Chicago? We didn't go get AK because he was a GM and we got him as our GM. We gave him a promotion. If I offer you a promotion, you're already successful. Guess what? You can go to the Chiefs or you can go to whatever team that's already successful and say, hey, I understand that you're a GM here. I understand that you have a tremendous amount of success. But you know what? Would you like to make a lot more money, move up, and run the entire football operation? I don't care if it's a real GM or not. But the model, like George sticking to this is the model that we've put in place and we feel that it works. It don't work. There's no evidence that it worked. There's zero evidence that they model works.
No, they hired another young, inexperienced person to run this like $1 billion organization.
You gonna get?
No, you can. Why not go for Dimitrov? Why not go get Rick Smith, someone who's had success that can learn from their previous experience? Because to me, you might as well have kept Ryan Pace, because you let this dude learn for 7 years. He was starting to get more hits than misses, and then you let him go. So you might as well either kept him, or now you need to put in an experienced GM. We stop bringing these people in here that are running your whole entire organization. They don't know what they're doing.
But this is the thing. If you're going to get an experienced GM, more than likely he's been fired. So that means that he built a team that failed. Or you're going to go get one of these young guys, the head of scouting departments, the head of whatever department it is on the other side, and you're going to put them into place, because you can't go get guys that have been successful, because you're not offering them a promotion. You're offering them a lateral movement. So what I'm asking you to do is leave the team you're with. I'm sorry, in the NFL, there are no Theo Epsteins that are willing to say, I'm going to resign here and then go over here and take the exact same job.
I think
really going hard with the nuts right there, dog.
Hey, man, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. What do you want me to do? I'm snacking. So like I said, for me, I want experience. I don't want someone. I'm tired of. We've been through this enough. Jerry Angelo, an experienced guy.
Yeah.
Phil Emery. Now I forget where he came from. I think he was elevated, right? But like, we got guys making silly decisions or rookie mistakes. How many times do we have to do that again? Like the fact that Pace was he did a rookie move by going for Trubisky. He could have got Trubisky if he wanted him, or he never even called Deshaun Watson. Apparently, he never even called him.
Yeah.
So why would you not do your due diligence as a GM? So no, I want experience, because to me that means that you've been through it. Maybe you learn from the mistakes that you possibly have made, or you can grow on it or build on it. It's hard to find that guy. Like, look, the perfect example of all is Bill Belichick. I mean, he was a coordinator, went to head coach, he failed, he got a new gig, he figured it out, and he's been the kingmaker ever since. He's a sustained success ever since.
This is the thing. You're still taking a shot on. Listen, right? This is how I'm looking at this. You're still taking a shot on a dude that failed. Maybe it works, maybe it don't. Yes, he's got the experience. He still failed. With Ryan, if you keep him around, he still failed. He failed miserably. While his draft picks may not be the most atrocious thing later rounds and stuff like that, he still failed miserably at managing the cap. You still have no salary guy. You still have no. And listen, he didn't get better at that. That's a major part. But that's what I'm saying. It's about how the Bears model is. Right now, you're going to bring a GM in. The GM does everything, controls everything. Just change the name. You know how you get a good GM? You change the name, and then you go to the Chiefs and you say, "Hey, don't you want to make more money and move up? Because we can offer you that here. You can become the president, not a GM, the president." That's how we got AK in the building. You guess what? Then he goes and hires his guy who becomes a GM. And guess what? Now you've got two dudes in the room that know what the heck they're doing.
Well, yeah, they allowed AK to run the team. And then you bring in Eversley. The point is that this is a bigger team.
But it's a name. It's a name. That's all it is. AK is the president. Do we think that AK didn't absolutely draft Patrick Williams?
No, I agree. But the point is that you want a good brain trust in there. But I want some sense of experience. AK to me came from a system in Denver where they were building a winner. And we look like Denver East and much better. Because before Jamal Murray went down. Huh?
How are the Bears going to get that is what I'm saying. Because a GM, the only way to offer somebody a promotion is to offer it to the dude that's lower than GM.
That's the whole NFL, though. The whole NFL is giving everybody promotions.
But, right. So what I'm saying is you make that position president of football operations. Guess what? It's the same role. You're going to come here and be the GM, but you're going to get a bigger check every single week.
Yeah, but that's not happening. So right now,
but that's what I'm saying. The Bears still are putting themselves in a position where they have no candidates. They're gonna have the young up and coming guys that don't have the experience, or maybe have been an assistant GM to a dude that was making the real calls, or maybe you know what I'm saying. Like, there's no improvement here. We're just about the repeat 2015.
Polian did not get Emery but Ernie Accorsi assisted with Pace in getting Fox. Ernie Accorsi encouraged them to get Fox. But no, the thing is, dude,
the difference I will say is Ernie Accorsi was brought in after they hired Ryan Pace.
No.
Yeah. Ted and George hired Ryan Pace without a football guy in the building, and then they didn't trust the young dude they brought in, and so then they brought in Ernie Accorsi. And Ernie Accorsi was like, "Hey, there's a dude that just went to the Super Bowl. Why don't you go hire him? Pay me my money, please."
Great
insight on that one, Ernie. Appreciate that. Couldn't have seen that from a mile away.
No, I think he was part of the search to bring Pace because he was a young guy from New Orleans and all that stuff. And then he helped basically sway the decision to get John Fox because he wanted to hire the other guy that went to Atlanta, Dan, whatever his name was. He's in Dallas right now. But I just feel like I hear what you're saying, but like it's different because this is a much larger team that has to be, it's all about how you delegate. And in my opinion, we can't take another rookie GM trying to figure out, cut his teeth because he's never done it before. Yeah, Dan Quinn, thank you. And so, I'd rather get a guy that's been there before that has success. I mean, the thing is, Dimitroff has had success. Even Rick Smith has taken a bad Houston Texans squad that was a franchise, expansion team. They really didn't do nothing. Yeah, I think he drafted your boy Watt. He built them to a point where they were a strong defense. They got Watson. The line was still shaky, but the dude stepped down. Apparently, they said his wife was dying from cancer, but he didn't quit. He stepped back. But that would be a guy I want to holler at.
I'm not taking anything away from what they could go after. What I'm saying is you're limiting what you can go after that's already successful by this our model that works that has never worked. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think they're saying that model works. They're like, look, we got it wrong. We fired them.
He literally said, like, we think that this is what works for us.
No, this is what works for them, is that they want to keep the structure in place, but that's not what they're trying to do. They clearly clean house. So they brought in possibly a more stronger football mind of Bill Polian than someone like an Ernie or Corsi. And I think as a consultant, I'd rather lean on him to find the next person. I just don't want someone cutting their teeth trying to figure it out again. I don't want, like Jerry Angelo made a mistake where his draft, we lost Warwick Holtman because he missed the 4th round pick, or he signed off something that he didn't sign back in the day. Like, you guys are doing blunder mistakes. Yeah. Or because you haven't been there before, you don't know what to do, versus getting the trigger fingers. Like, I like Pace to a degree because he wasn't afraid to make a move. That's the first GM I've ever seen in Chicago where, like, yo, we're going to go out and get the guy I want. I can appreciate that. Now, not getting snaked or getting duped like you did for the Trubisky move, where it's like you need the experience.
Were you just bidding against yourself?
Yeah, you just like,
hey, I'll give you a 2nd round pick. You know what? Let's make it a first. Hey, you know what? 2 firsts and a 2nd.
Yeah, and Lynch was like, yeah, sure. They're like, he's an idiot. He don't know what he's doing. I'm about to get all the picks for this dude.
You know what they did? They just put Ryan Pace on speakerphone and then put another phone up against it and let him talk to himself. He just came here and I give you a first. I'll give you a first. Well, I give you 2 firsts. I'll give you 2 firsts. So dumb, man. Hey, we want to hear from y'all as well, man. We want to hear from the Bears fans to react to what y'all heard, man. Call into the show, 855-908-5668, 855-908-5668. The Contender phone lines are open. No, yeah, that's a fact, though. Was that Ernie? I think that is fact. Oh, he suggested Chris Ballard. But Ballard passed on the job because he didn't want to report to Ted. And in that same time frame, Bruce Arians became available, and we wanted to make him. Is that fact though? I feel like that was with Trestman.
What
was that? Ernie again? Was that Ernie both times?
No, Ernie. Ernie
only did it with Pace. I thought
they were done with Pace after the fact, but Ernie came in afterwards. Yeah, the whole Trestman and Emery fiasco was with Arians.
Yeah.
But Ernie came in, but I believe this because Chris Ballard, I thought, was a scout for Chicago, right? He worked in the Chicago Bears franchise, so he knew what the inner workings were like. But then again, I thought he interviewed and he wanted the job. So I don't know.
Well, they did want the job. They both wanted the job, but the Bears picked Emery over Ballard, and then they went out and they picked because Bruce Arians was like, I just want Coach of the Year. I'm not doing a mock press conference, you idiots. They were like, well, we can't hire you, so we're going to go get Mark Trestman, who enjoys his Star Wars figurines in the back of the room while, coaching a team. A bunch of nerds, Jesus Christ. And I'm a nerd too, so I don't know.
I think what I'd like, the frustrating part is that you clearly see this pattern that these guys, in terms of the McCaskies, I think Mike Ditka ruined you getting any type of strong personalities in that room, and they can't stand up to a guy like that. And I feel like it's sad because ultimately we want a leader of men to get in here. It's like nice guys don't win football. Yep. Tough guys win football.
Yeah. This is my thing. I just find me, like you said, a leader of men. Find me the dude that's going to be successful at delegating. That's what I want. That's what I want in the room. You know what? I want a GM that's going to come in and be able to delegate to a head coach. I want a head coach that's going to be able to come in and be able to delegate to his coordinators. I want the coordinators to be able to delegate it to the players. That's all being a coach and a GM and all of that is. Getting the right people to help you do your job well. All you're doing is delegate. When you're a GM and you're making these picks, what are you doing? Delegating to scouts. Hey, make sure when you're out west, we need offensive line help. I hear they got some heavy offensive line help. Check that out. Hey, you down in the middle, we need a middle linebacker. Hey, we need some linemen to protect this kid. Find me a lineman. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, the key is what is going to be the identity. Are you going to be stubborn enough to think that Justin Fields is a pocket passer, Or do you want to have him more Russell Wilson-esque, that he can run and throw the ball? I don't want to lean more towards Lamar Jackson, like kind of run first and then pass.
That's his game, though. I think Justin actually can throw the ball. I think they just.
I know. Russell Wilson. Yes.
They didn't do anything with him. You know what I'm saying? Listen, Justin absolutely had his flaws this year, but it's like
scheming to the talent.
Go look at the routes and tell me how he's supposed to amass this big amount of yards that y'all thought he was going to get, or how he's going to get the touchdown. I mean, everything was most of the. Good Lord, I don't know why I looked at the TV right then. They just showed that Ja Morant block from last night. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
I missed it. I got him on my fantasy squad too.
But no, I look at it and I want to see you find. I don't know if Bill Polian can do it. It doesn't have to be a Bear for me. It doesn't. But find someone who just understands how to lead a team.
Yeah.
I don't care if it is your head of scouts. I don't care if it is your. You know what I'm saying? Like, just find somebody. And with Justin, find the right coach for him, but they're not even including Justin in that search. You know what I'm saying? And I get Justin hasn't amassed that amount of cachet in the NFL. I don't think that he has. But
they're smart enough to recognize what they have. What they're not gonna do is put the next GM or coach in a box by saying this is whatever. They're gonna say the coach that's gonna come in is gonna have this plan. And my point is, like, we're in Chicago. So can we stop trying to look like we're going to be, the Rams' greatest show on turf or whatever? It's going to get cold in the winter. We got 2 running backs. Are we going to be smart enough to scheme for the players we have? Or forget it. This is what we do from the top down. This is our new identity. I get it. Like back in the day, it's run first and the Bears defense monster of the midway. And that's fine. But can we adjust? Because like Belichick has done that. Belichick went from a run first, protect the ball with Tom Brady with the strong defense. Then eventually it turned into Tom Brady throwing the ball, and then they were like Randy Moss, and the defense was not that great. Then it went from Tom Brady to Gronk, and then the defense was like, they've been able to adjust and scheme to their talent. And it's like, let's not be stuck in this. Like, are you smart enough to create a coach that can fit or build to the team and say, all right, now we gotta not let what we might need to pivot. Yeah. But I just need someone that has the mindset that's creative enough to do what they did, because I mean, what we saw with Nagy was just terrible. The guy could not scheme for his players. He did it for he didn't do it for Trubisky, and it's the same thing we saw with Fields. You got the talent there. Why do you not have 2 running backs in Herbert and Montgomery, and you got a rookie quarterback, but you keep leaving the ball in his hands? Like, limit his throws and protect him.
Well, this is my thing. Especially with how you're gonna do this. It's okay to have a passing dynamic. Guess what? It gets freaking cold in Green Bay too. You know what they do? They let Aaron Rodgers slang that thing.
Well, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers.
But you know, I'm fine with you having a passing identity. But guess what? You got to develop Justin Fields to be a passer.
No, I want him to pass.
You got to protect him. You got to you're there. No one's coming in here and walking into a cakewalk. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's coming in here. Like, the GM that comes in here, which is why I hate how they've modeled this, because you're going to go get dudes that haven't done this. They're going to end up with somebody who hasn't been in a draft room. They're going to end up with somebody who hasn't made those big picks or they're going to end up with somebody that did it and failed because of how they have their model set up. So now you're telling me not only did we get rid of the guy that was in here, which I don't think Ryan Pace did enough to stick around. I just don't. I don't think that the way he's handled the team is enough for him to stick around. But at a minimum, I know he knows how to be in a draft room. I don't know if every pick's going to be right, but I know he knows how to be in a draft room. You basically took that away on a team that already needs a bunch of pieces to work. And you're going to go find another dude that essentially probably has not been in a draft room, or if he has, he's not been the dude making the big decisions.
We don't know that. They might go for experience. I mean, that's the whole point.
But experience that has been successful has a job. The one guy you brought up left the league because, like you said, his wife was sick at the time, so he stepped away from the team out in Houston.
Yeah, she died. And I said, and Dimitrov, he had a lot of success in Atlanta.
Now
see, things have ebb and flow though.
That's a name where I'm more intrigued on it, because Atlanta just basically imploded in the Super Bowl, and that's not on the GM. You know what I'm saying? That's on your offensive coordinator. That's like, nah, just keep throwing that thing. Give Tom as many chances as we can.
But under his watch, Dimitrov has had a level of success over the years. I think what messed them up was putting all that money in Julio Jones. You know, I think that you got away from your identity.
Yeah.
And then I think players, it's an ebb and flow. I mean, after a while, I think whether he learns from this or not, I just think that, let me rephrase that. I think that you've learned, if you're going to get in this position and you've had success, how do you not draw on that? I don't want someone else coming in here making dumb rookie mistakes again. It's too much. We're sitting there over here, wrecking our brains out year after year, watching this team fail. And because they have inexperienced people running the team.
I mean, we could talk about dumb rookie mistakes, but listen, at a certain point, Ryan was making dumb vet mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like just because we go get the experienced guy or the guy that's done it before doesn't mean he's going to be the guy that's going to get it done. Listen, I don't even agree with how they moved on from him in Atlanta. Like, he didn't get them to a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying?
Who did? Dimitrov?
Yeah. That's what I don't agree how they moved on from him there. Like,
he did get them to the Super Bowl.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't agree how they moved on from him even after he got him to a Super Bowl. And maybe there's a couple of names out there, but even those names, if they are looking to come back into the NFL, why do I come fix the Bears? Why don't I go somewhere that I have draft capital? Why don't I go somewhere? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things that Ryan did here that if it's screwed up, you probably picked the worst time of all to try and go get him his replacement.
I disagree, because I feel like for the first time in my adult life, I think we actually have the first time in my life. We had McMahon since '85, basically. We've had
quarterback. I went back and watched him. McMahon could actually play quarterback. He just couldn't stay healthy.
McMahon was a screw loose.
Spinal cord.
Well, he's over there trying to headbutt everybody and tackle guys, but in a long time, Justin Fields is like, we've got a quarterback. We actually have 2 running backs. We have a middle linebacker. We have a defensive tackle in Eddie Goldman. We have a lot of pieces on there. I think we had some basic scheming issues. Like, when we watch this offense, why do we have 3 tight ends? And you're only throwing a 1.
Well, it's a problem. And again, that's where the staff comes in. Listen, you brought in Matt Nagy, who didn't know how to build a staff. As much as everybody, I've heard people laud Sean Desai, and I'm confused by it. You know what I'm saying? Did we watch the same defense yesterday? Did we watch the same defense all year? Did we? Who do you think is evaluating the defensive players? For everybody that got excited when Thomas Graham Jr. finally got some tick off of the practice squad because everyone else was sick on COVID. Who do you think's the guy that kept him on the practice squad? You think Matt Nagy was like, hey, I know nothing about defense, but that kid can't play?
Hey, like some of these chats here, like, look, yes, I want Harbaugh and Fangio and get me someone, and he can bring in someone that figures out how to use Fields, and he's going to have a power running game. Go get me that dude.
I think that's leverage. I don't think Harbaugh's leaving Michigan. Why would Harbaugh leave Michigan where he's already God and will never be fired?
He will be fired.
And probably be fired in 3 to 4 years.
Because he can only get like 1 5-star recruit and 3 3-star recruits.
I agree, but still, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. Guess what? He beat Ohio State this year. He's got at least another 5 years off of that win alone.
Hey, Herrera is hilarious. You know what? I would take $15 an hour to go up to Alice Hall.
He's definitely going hard with you being Boozer. And that's the thing too. You know what I'm saying? Like, is there gonna be it? Can you get, like, we got to stop the disrespect of the former players stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of disrespect to the former player. I hate to tell you this, but Olin Kreutz is one of the best O linemen to ever play football. It's not like Olin Kreutz is one of the best Bears. Listen, we got a lot of those dudes. He's the best Bear that we've had. He's one of the best Bears at that position that we've ever had. No, Olin Kreutz is one of the best offensive linemen to ever play football.
He's a man's man, and they are intimidated by guys like him because that's the problem. Those dudes don't get any respect up there. They just own the team, and everybody knows it. So now they got a complex where it's like, no, they want some credit because trust me, you know they're going to sit there and want all the credit in the world that they finally made a winner. Yep. You know, when they do win, and it's like we don't have time for. It's like that's like the Nagy thing. Like I'm the head coach. You know, the book stops with me.
Real. That's real.
That's real. It's me. You know, it's like, dude, like let's. We're just tired of this nonsense. But I don't know. I feel like I'm done with the inexperienced stuff. It's not paying off.
I'm with it. I get it, but the experience, you know, if Dimitrov does come back, or if why can't I keep remembering buddy name that was in Houston?
Rick Smith.
If Rick Smith does come back, why here?
Okay, wait. Let me just state for the record. I want the best candidate. I just don't want it to be that we're always going for the hot shot candidate. Now, if the new hot shot guy becomes the next guy, like a Mike Tomlin,
yeah,
like a Sean Payton, like anybody, I'm fine with that. But if you're going to put me up against someone that's been doing it, I mean, I don't want to just basically not have that option that this guy might be worth it just because this guy's the hot guy. No, yeah. I would prefer the experience.
Well, I'm with you, but why here?
Why not here?
Why wouldn't you go because you have nothing to fix with? If I'm coming into the league, you know, first, as much as I can't stand to say it, first team I'm looking at is New York. I got 2 first-round picks to work with. 2 first-round picks, I can go get a quarterback.
Yeah, but you got a quarterback now.
And who? Daniel Jones?
No, you got a quarterback here in Chicago.
Yeah, but you have nobody to protect him right now, and it's going to be hard to go get a offensive lineman to help him out next year if Tevin Jenkins doesn't pan out, or if I just want to fix my right tackle position because Jermaine Ifedi is basically a turnstile standing out there. I have, if there's a guy of any ilk that I'm going to go get, it's going to be tough to get him with a 3rd-round pick.
I don't know if the line is really that bad as it more is the scheme that you're doing. You can't sit there and throw one receiver out there. You know, you're not throwing any crossing patterns. You're not doing any real dump offs, no check offs. You're not doing anything in terms of, having Justin run out of the pocket, doing some type of, there was no creativity. So
Olin Kreutz quoted my tweet.
He did. What'd he say?
I just put fam. Did George just call Olin Kreutz a liar in his press conference? He just quoted it and said yes. Shout out to you, Olin.
Yeah. There you have it.
Shout out to you, Olin.
Big shout out to Olin Kreutz, man. That's a man's man right
Big
there.
love.
Man.
Hey, Olin, pull up on the show.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Let's go out to the phones, man. At least call in, brother. Let's go out to the 773, man. We got Mikey on the line. Let me make sure this thing is unmuted here. Here we go. Mikey, what's good?
Yo, Pat, this is Baki. What up, man?
Oh, Baki, what's good, man? What's good? I hate that your name always pops up as Mikey. God damn. What's going on, bro?
Oh, my God. I mean, the joy that I have of seeing Pace and Nagy fire was just sucked out in 10 minutes of George McCaskey's dribble. Like, oh, my God.
Hey, that's such a perfect way to put it.
You keep forgetting that they run the team.
Dry by his dribble. Because it's like, dude, you didn't learn anything in 7 years. Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the exact same thing. Like, I'm going to keep putting this square peg in this round hole because it's going to eventually work. I'm going to keep doing it. Like, come on, dude. Like, really? So now we got Bill Polian. Like, I understand everybody like Bill Polian, but I just don't like the fact this is the same model that they're trying to run out of here, and they're thinking this is going to work.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you have to keep doing it. Eventually, you might hit on somebody. I think they got to do something.
The way this track record is, they ain't hitting on it.
This is what I think.
I'm hitting on it.
I think that Bill Polian is going to have way more say than them leaning on Ernie Corsi last time. So I think the whole point was he's really going to run the show, but he's just too old to do it. So they're leaning. The fact that they said we read his books.
Bro,
right.
bro, if
book,
I heard
really.
about that book one more time, dog.
LJ, what's going on, man?
Here's the crazy part. It's like, okay, we're gonna rely on Bill Polian. Let's say he does do his due diligence. He does a great job. He finds the right guy. I have to trust that this ownership is going to allow this right guy to do a good job. I don't trust those dudes not to contaminate whoever this new person is.
We don't like we're at the mercy, man. There's nothing we can do about that.
You know, yeah, I know, but it's just like it's one of those situations where it's just like, oh my God.
This is the thing. I would say this. I want to thank Ryan Pace for drafting Justin Fields, because when they did that, they put the national spotlight on the Chicago Bears so bad that they got flamed all year. When's the last time you ever seen Chicago in the national spotlight like this? They have never been. They're always an afterthought. Like well, you
can say a couple of years ago, because I liken this to how the Bulls were. Like when we had the All-Star game in that year, and we were so bad and so god awful that the national media got a hook on it, and the next thing you know, we have AK and Mark Eversley now.
Right. We're getting mocked
so bad.
Okay, so people keep saying about Bill Polian with Lamar Jackson should become a wide receiver. Okay, Lamar Jackson's rookie year, for example.
Who's saying that?
No, someone was saying about Bill Polian. Like, I get it. Yeah, for everyone that he said Lamar Jackson, he's done a whole lot more. Yeah. But Lamar Jackson really is not a great quarterback. He's an athletic dude, and they put a scheme around him to make him successful. So like technically he's not necessarily off, but I mean he's like
one MVP as a quarterback. Get a little off on that one.
Colin Kaepernick. I mean, the point is he's an athletic quarterback. The thing is, John Harbaugh was smart enough to use his strengths. So they schemed around him. If you put him in a traditional quarterback setting, he's not going to win.
Yeah.
He's not going to be successful. That's all I'm saying. I'm not against. Look, I'm proud that Lamar Jackson won MVP. I'm proud that they actually wanted to develop and build his skill set. So, okay, shame on Bill Polian that he didn't want to draft. He wouldn't put him in the traditional team that he's looking for, or whatever team or identity he wants. But either way, now I know Lamar won it based off of the scheme they gave him. Go ahead, man.
I just hope the new coach helps us out.
Oh yeah,
new GM. And one last thing before I get off, man, this old and crude stuff. Like, come on, like really. So now we just out here disrespecting former Bears that bled orange and blue more than y'all. Like, come on.
Yeah. Absolutely disrespectful. Absolutely disrespectful.
These guys, man.
And listen, it's not like George has been on the field putting his body on the line for it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, man.
Wild,
like, dude, I've watched Olin Cruz fight for dudes he didn't even like just because they're in the same uniform.
That's facts.
Like, bro, he beat up a dude for Cutler, and you trying to tell me you're not $15, and then you got the audacity to come out here and just disrespect this man?
Disrespect
after what Ryan Pace and them just did? Come on.
Disrespect's got to stop. Hey, Baki, appreciate you for calling into the show, man, as always, dog.
Yeah, Baki, shout out,
man. Brother.
Stay safe, man. Listen, great points by Baki, man. Great points laid out. So this is the question here. You know what I'm saying? Bears fire Matt Nagy, fire Ryan Pace. George has laid out what his plan is. What's next? Who do you go for? How do you find this guy? Is Bill Polian? Do y'all feel confident that Bill Polian is going to be able to find this guy? Call into the show, man. 855-908-5668. I appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us, man. That was it. Yeah, the disrespect of Olin was wild, bro. And the fact that he had like a stroke immediately after. It was just like, so are you saying Olin Kreutz isn't telling the truth?
He didn't know what to. He didn't know.
Man, I swear I thought he was about to say if the shoe fits. I thought he was about to say if the shoe fit. That it's wild, bro.
They probably sat there and he probably called them out over the years. They just don't like him. And I think, a lot of those guys, I don't know. I feel like whether did the success of the 85 squad taint like how the ownership views everybody now. Like, because I think it was George, it was Mike McCaskey, right? Mike, wasn't it Mike or something that was running the team back in the day?
Yeah.
And those two were butting heads, right? It was Ditka versus Mike. So I don't know. It's like it's affected them to the fact of who they try to hire, who they want to run their team, because it's their team. And it's like, you know, we're just subject to some. Hopefully, we're at the mercy. Hopefully, they figure it out. You know, I think that. Go ahead.
Here's the problem with what they did today, right? So you essentially told us you have no idea what's going on. You said you're a fan, which is worse.
Right.
It's like you're not a fan. You're a billionaire that owns a football team. You're not a fan, bro. You can be a fan of the team, but you're not a fan.
Right. So
and
you
when
just
you come out and your organization, whether you know about it or not, when your organization disrespects one of the best players to ever wear your jersey, how do you expect to get somebody in the building? How do you expect to get those players to come help you? How do you expect to get those coaches in? Don't stop hanging your hat on, hey, we're the charter franchise. Hey, we regret. That's a long time ago, dog.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long time ago. It's a long time ago. T, are you about to get blocked with all this spamming you doing, my boy?
Yeah, I know he going hard, but it's like
Going hard
okay.
out. Yeah, he about to get blocked. It's all good. Appreciate the super chat, man. Here comes somebody else about to get blocked in this, John.
Yeah, that it was. You can't sit there and say I'm a fan when you are, your family started.
Yeah,
your family started the football league. Come on, man.
McCaskey should be ashamed of that clown show, the disrespect of Olin, but they've been screaming about 85 for 35 plus years. Embarrassing. No, facts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's one of those where I love the 85 Bears. I love the 06 Bears. I love any Bears team that wins. But at the end of the day, I want to see somebody win. Heck, the 85 Bears want to see somebody win. You know how many times Mongo, which, man, prayers up to Mongo and his family, what he's going through, man. You know how many times Mongo has said, listen, I love all the love and admiration we get here, but, man, I'd love to see a new winner. Man, I'd love to see these young boys be able to come through and take on that mantle.
Well, let's pivot. Who do you like? What would you like to see?
I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Here's the intro. I'm gonna be honest with you. Harbaugh's not the worst name on the list because I know he can build a staff. And we did get I think Baki tagged me in a tweet, which now is going to be extremely hard to find because I got to swipe all the way down through all the love I'm getting from the Olin Kreutz tweet. Shout out to Olin, man. I love to get him on the show. I literally tweeted him. I was like, hey, Olin, if you're not doing nothing, man, call into the show, bro. We'd love to have you on. I'm trying to find this tweet from Baki. He tagged me in. Per sources, the Bears have requested permission to interview Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier for their head coach opening, which to me is like, are y'all just trying to get the Rooney Rule out early, which kind of pisses me off a little bit too, because you haven't even gotten, like Leslie Frazier's not a high enough head coach on the list to me for you to be looking to interview him before you're looking to get your GM in the building.
He kind of makes me think of Fangio, like longtime coordinator, always up for a head coaching job, never got it. Like, will he get in there?
He's the go-to for we need to interview a black dude to get the Rooney Rule out the way so we can go get the guy we want. I don't like that this coming this early. I'm not gonna lie. It makes the in between my spine itch. You know what I'm saying? Let's go out to the phones here, man. We got James on the phone, man, talking about these Bears. James, what's good?
This organization, I can't stand this organization, man. And every time I see Goofy George and his instability year after year after year, getting down to a point, man, where I'm like, you know what? if I don't have to watch another Bear game again, that's cool.
Yeah.
As long as these people run the organization, you know, Michael, pencil pushing Ted, the crypt keeper herself, I can't do it. I just can't do it. Okay. And the fact, and you think coaches want to come to an organization that is this disarray, this chaotic, this unorganized? Yeah. Why do you think no defensive coordinator wanted to come in for the defensive coordinator job, so they had to get Sean Desai? Like, I'm at the point now where, listen, take a grenade, throw it in the Hallis Hall, blow it up. I don't care. Hey, man, at this point, this Bears organization can rot for all I care. I'm done. I'm done with them.
Hey, be careful, dog. The FBI got your phone tapped now. You got to be careful out here. But yeah, hey, listen. I feel you, dog. I feel you. I like you. I don't know what to tell you, dog. I wish I could tell you something to be better, to feel better. Like, I can't tell you that I believe that they're going to find the right people. The way that they just disrespected Olin Kreutz, I can't even tell you that the people that have been around that want to talk to him are going to want to talk to him. Why?
And also, and I'm glad you said that, because that's another thing too. Like other coaches and assistant coaches and players are going to look at. You saw how they disrespected, but Bears have a tendency to do this. We always disrespect. Look how we treated Urlacher in his last year here. Yeah. Like, we have this tendency to disrespect players that put their bodies on the line for us. I mean, Michael and Virginia and Ted, they were so ungrateful to their players, man. It's ridiculous. I can't stand it.
I feel you, bro.
You know why? Because they know that they have something that everybody wants, and they lord it over you.
Yeah.
And they know they're printing money. They could do whatever they want.
They're printing money. And I love when Ted's like, we're hoping that financially we'll be able to do it. Dog, if you don't shut your hey, man, stay safe out there, my boy. Keep your head up.
You too.
The one sad part is we know we're going to keep watching this team. Safe out there, bro. That's the worst part about it, right? It's not that the team is going to continue to be bad. It's not that, and I don't know if they will or not. It's not that the team is going to come out and struggle. They're not going to find the right guy. It's that no matter what they do, every single Sunday I'm going to TV and watch Bears football.
Well, all we want is to get away, because they'll have a flash in the pan type of season, like 2018, like 06. Yeah. Like, it'll happen, but they'll catch lightning in a bottle. Can we get to the point that we want an identity and sustain success? This is the infrastructure that we're going to put in place to build on this team. That's all we want. Yeah. And will unfortunately, okay, people are harping on Bill Polian, but he's Obi-Wan. He's our only hope. He's our only.
Help me, Bill Polian. You're our only
hope. My only hope. You're my only hope. Because those guys aren't doing it. Those guys, they got to. I mean, that's all we got.
God. That's pretty funny. Hey, did he call Virginia McCaskey the crypt keeper, by the way?
He did. Yes, he did.
You gotta relax, brother. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even know. That's tough, dog. That's tough. What time is it? We got about 10 minutes left, man. I was really hoping Olin Kreutz called in. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, maybe I'll see this tweet and call in, like, talk to us, because I just want to talk to Olin Kreutz. First things first, the first question would just be, Olin, I love you. Olin, I just want you to know none of us feel the way that George does. And I'm pretty sure he had a stroke on stage. Olin, I love you. You just hear, all right, click.
I agree with Raging Oracle. Yes, a fourth of Polian is greater than 100%. Yes, it's like at least somebody that's done it can help.
200 in the chat.
200 in the chat.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's I think this is the interesting thing, right? This is the thing that at this point the Bears have to do. You have to find a way with all of those names in place that they mentioned, Tranisha and Soup Campbell. By the way, who is that?
I don't even know. I
He
feel
was
like
saying that like I was supposed to know, and I'm like, is this a player? Like the only Soupy Campbell I know is Brian Campbell. He played for the Blackhawks. Like, why is Soupy Campbell involved in this? I was confused by that myself. You know what I'm saying? But no, the biggest thing that to me the Bears have to do here is find a way with all of those names involved to find the best decision maker to actually run the football decisions.
Oh, he's director of player personnel.
Who? Oh, Super Campbell.
Lamar Soup Campbell. He's been with the Bears since 2017, and they said with COVID-19 and widespread civil unrest following George Floyd's death, creating stress, tumult, and uncertainty, Campbell's work with Bears players has never been more crucial or appreciated. He's our director of player engagement. They said he does a really, really good job of understanding what these players are going through on a daily basis, not even just in 2020, but in prior years. He builds unbelievably great relationships with them. They trust, they understand. So they're like the Harry, what's the dude from Seattle back?
That's kind of what he said. He said he was like our players gonna like this coach. And quote from Olin Kreutz on 670 to score. A couple quotes here. Shout out to Baki for tagging us in them. He said, if that man said that to my face, we would have had a problem. And then another one, he said, if a guy like George McCaskey doesn't like me, that's a win for me. Obviously, I'm not fond of George McCaskey right now and the way he handled himself there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, dude. Like, I mean, I'm at a point now, like how it's so wild. I'm at a point now where it's like my Bears fandom is teetering on like, forget these mugs, but I also do this for a living. So it's kind of like, you can't forget these mugs. You have to absolutely watch everything they do, but it's just so bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so bad.
This is about being able to vent, right? This is all about being able to express how you can express how you feel with the team. It is what it is. It's not going to change. Look, I'll give them an ounce of credit that they want to somehow get better. The fact that you went ahead and you did it again, went back to the wheel, to the well, and okay, we didn't do Ernie Corsi, but we did go Bill Polian.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they're trying to do something, because the thing is, like I said, Justin Fields was the best thing that ever happened in this organization right now, because these jokers got straight out embarrassed. So I'm good. It is what it is. I hate the fact that I spent money on jerseys. My son walking around with his jersey. You know what I'm saying? We all wearing hats. Like, dude.
And that's what I mean, though. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. We're gonna sit here. We're gonna, no matter what we say, no matter, oh my God, I'm done, I'm sick of this team, goodbye to it. We're gonna sit down in front of our TV every single Sunday, Monday Night Football. We're gonna get hyped. Bears versus Packers. We're gonna be screaming at the top of our lungs, no matter what happens. They've got us. They've got us. We're brainwashed.
I'm with you, Garza. Well, I mean, the thing is, like you said, it's happened before. It's just that what we want is sustained success. We want an infrastructure. So let's see what they do. I mean, there's nothing else we can do. I mean, hopefully they get the right guy in there. I'm over the rookie stuff. Give me experience. Give me some guys that's been doing it and have an idea and identity of what they want to do.
Do you think they can find that guy?
I think Bill Polian can find that guy. I don't think George or Ted can at all. Not at all. I think the fact that the dude said, I'm a fan.
Gee, he doesn't even know what he is. It's like, George, you're not a fan, but you're a billionaire.
Yeah, I'm a fan, but you know what? I make the decision on who I pick. You don't make decisions.
Oh my God, that's the main thing. That's the main thing. I'm a fan. By the way, the GM answers to me. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. If Ryan Pace was calling me up every single week trying to see if I'm okay with his decisions, first off, he'd have been fired a long time ago. But here's the thing, right? You're a fan. The GM answers to me. You were too scared to have an opinion when Matt Nagy, which, by the way, I like that he said, I'm uncomfortable with you asking me this. But you basically said, I'm concerned that you're asking me this because I don't know what's going on in the football side of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a fan, but you still want people to look at you and come to you and clear everything with you, and the GM answers to you. Come on, dog.
But it absolves you. Like, it's making you feel like you're in power. It's kind of like the Bane Batman thing. Like, I'm in power. Are you?
Are you? Are you in power?
Are you in power?
You were born to the trash. You really adopted bring trash. I was born to it.
Yeah, like, but that's the point.
No one played quarterback here in years.
Yeah, man. We'll see what they do. I mean, I'm always going to be optimistic, and then until they fail. Like, I like some coaches. I like Lovey to a point, and then I didn't like certain things he did because it was like he doesn't make adjustments. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt. Trestman came in, looked good for a hot minute, and then they just, they hit the wall.
Yeah.
Nagy looked great. Nagy was a genius. Everybody was excited for Nagy.
Yeah.
But he got figured out because he lacked creativity. And basically, the Nagy that we've been getting was from like the end of the first year. Basically, the playoff game against Philly was basically that's what we've had the whole time since.
A field goal really broke him.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have done nothing even if they went to the next round. Like, he was figured out.
Yeah, that defense was that good. Because remember the playoffs that year?
Yeah, but I mean,
the
look,
playoffs that year, it was like no one else would have scored on us.
Yeah, but we couldn't.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know, because did the Chiefs? No, Tom won that Super Bowl, right?
No, Philly won. No, Philly had repeated.
Philly won the year before. I think Tom won the next year, right?
That means he was still on the Patriots.
I believe so.
I got to look that up.
I might be wrong.
Where's our stats?
It was one of those where, fam, I absolutely believe they don't miss that. I've always felt that way. They don't miss that field goal. The Bears absolutely had a good enough team to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
man, I do.
The Rams. That was a bad. No, they couldn't score.
The rest of the playoffs, the rest of that year, it was just low scoring game after low scoring game after low scoring game, and I was just like, the game we lost was low scoring.
They would have won if Trubisky, basically, it would have been a Jim McMahon type of move. Ditka says we're gonna run it up on third and 10, run up the middle, and what's the name, calls an audible. Like, it would have been Trubisky taking a 3rd and 7, and you threw a 3-yard hitch. He would have just said, forget that. He's gonna break containment and run it 10, 15 yards. That's what made him special to me. He would take those 3rd and 7s and whatever, run all the way down, and next thing you know, you're in the end zone. Now you're scoring cheap touchdowns. Like Jay Cutler getting in the end zone, he threw all kind of interceptions in the red zone. Trubisky actually was decent in the red zone. He just had no deep throw. He had no deep ball, but he used his legs.
That's like I told Kidd this morning. I said, I told him, I said, listen, you can do a lot when your team's starting you off at the 5. When your defense is starting you off at the 5, you can get a whole lot done there.
But you gotta be able to keep that defense fresh. That's why we lost so much of the defense back in the 06. We lost Tommy Harris and Mike Brown, which were huge losses to that defense. And it was like, because Rex Grossman kept turning the freaking ball over. Like, you got to be able to sustain that keep the offense on the ground, so keep the running game going, and keep that defense fresh. You keep leaving those dudes out there. Mac, for Khalil Mack to look like, all-world beater, Hall of Fame, whatever, he was incredible, but he's basically injured. He's done.
Yeah.
We can't keep
I don't know if he's done. I ain't gonna say
he's a shell. He's a shell.
I ain't gonna say he's done yet.
He's a shell.
He might not be the same dude as he was when he was young, but he still garners a couple of defenders on him on the other end.
Steve's hilarious. Jordan Howard didn't, because they didn't fit their scheme, right? He couldn't catch, so we'll just get rid of him. Forget that he can run.
Yeah, I know, right? And you know what, though? I'm cool. Listen, this is the interesting thing. That never bothered me. It never bothered me. I was like, you can find a running back. Guess what? We found a running back.
I
You know
mean,
what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay. Hey, guess what? We found 2.
Before Mac got hurt, he was leading. I know that Mac was leading. I'm not saying Mac was incredible. I'm not saying Mac is not. Look, he's not who he was from 2018.
He's not who he was when he was young.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like, I love Khalil Mack. I just want him to stay Khalil Mack the whole time, but he's not the same dude right now.
Hey, I appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with your boy as always, man. If y'all haven't done so, man, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, man. We do this every single day. We'll be back in the morning breaking down. I'm sure we'll be breaking down more of this Bears stuff. I'm sure that we'll be breaking down more of just from the other teams around the league, what kind of went down with Brian Flores down there. Well, that was an interesting firing by them. A lot of the different things around the league that happened this week. So tune in tomorrow for the morning breeze. You can see right there below. We do that Monday through Friday. I just had a stroke like George did. Y'all saw that? We do that Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., man. We'll also be live for Bulls Live Call tomorrow as well. As always, it's your boy Pat the Designer, joined by the super producer J.Holts in the building. Thank you. Appreciate you for tuning in and rocking with us. As always, man, y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. One day we'll win. One day we'll get a winner. One day I'll be proud.
One day we'll be together.
Y'all stay safe out there.